Hello, and welcome to Spotlight on Education. I'm Jamie Savedoff, Superintendent of Schools in East Brunswick, and your host for the program. My guests today are Dr. JoAnn Magistro, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources of the East Brunswick Public Schools, Mr. Austin Kosik, East Brunswick's Emergency Management Coordinator, and Sergeant Tom Crothers of the East Brunswick Police Department. Today we will be discussing school security and the school district's crisis management plan. I'd like to start off with Dr. Magistro. You headed the committee that developed the crisis management plan. Could you share with us the importance of having a plan and how East Brunswick's plan was created?
We think it's very important to have a plan so that people specifically know their responsibilities, the procedures of the district in terms of crisis, and also what resources are available for them should we come across an incident which needs outside assistance. Our committee of parents, township officials, students, and staff and administrators looked at the state model for crisis management. The state crisis management plan was developed by people who have experts in the field of all aspects of crisis management, obviously. So we took a look at their plan and developed ours based on much of the criteria they had contained within. In each of our committees, we really sat down with people who had experts on the particular topic that we were working on. For instance, if the topic we were working on was hostage situations, it was just the police we dealt with, because those are the people who have expertise in that field. If we were dealing with the part of our plan that deals with communication with parents, we had parents in to talk to them about how they felt the best method to communicate with them should a crisis happen in one of their schools. And we spoke with students. How do they feel they would need to be directed, and what kinds of things they would need to know if their school was under a crisis situation? So we tried to get as much information as possible to develop a plan that was also consistent with our schools, but consistent with the communities in East Brunswick, because many times you may have to call on someone outside our community. So using a state model plan is what our district used, and we're very, very happy with it.
It's important that the plan address all types of hazardous occurrences, including inclement weather. Can you discuss some of the specific occurrences that would necessitate the implementation of the crisis management plan?
Well, those nonviolent situations would include an earthquake, a chemical spill, a fallen aircraft, any kind of activity which would require us getting assistance within the building and certainly within the community to resolve those issues.
The Crisis Management Plan committee members represented all factions of the school community. We had staff and students involved. It also included township officials who play a key role when any type of emergency occurs within the schools. Mr. Kosik, you served on the committee as a representative of the township. What role would the township play if we had to implement our emergency plan?
Well, in the community of East Brunswick, we have a very aggressive emergency management committee. When an emergency occurs within the township, we'll respond and do whatever it takes necessary to mitigate that emergency. For a situation on one of the school campuses, depending on the situation or incident that's involved, we will dictate our response accordingly. We have the ability to bring in resources from naturally the township, county level, state level, and all the way to the federal level. We take our emergency management plan that we had put together for the township, and we dovetailed it and meshed it with the school's crisis management plan. So anything from a smaller incident that could be handled within the school, a township response would be minimal, to a degree of a large incident of a building collapse, a fallen aircraft, chemical release, or something of that nature, our response would be increased. We look towards our emergency operation plan to handle any emergency management crisis that happens within the township, and that naturally would go along with anything that happens with the Board of Ed school campuses.
Thank you. And Sergeant Crothers, you represented the East Brunswick Police Department in the development of the plan. Could you discuss how the police prepare for a school emergency and the role the department would play in the event of a violent incident occurring at the high school or junior high school or in any one of our schools?
Well, the police department currently has a SWAT team that is manned by 20 members of the police department. We are specifically trained in the area of the lockdown drill and exactly what we're supposed to do when we go in there. We have site plans for all the schools, and we use them when we train at the schools when schools are not, when they're off for either holidays or on the weekends on SWAT team training dates. We are also training our regular police officers on the concept of the lockdown, because in the event that one of the schools has to use one, they'll play a key role in the successful implementation of the lockdown.
Thank you. And Dr. Magistro, you mentioned earlier that each school has its own crisis management plan. What does the school plan entail?
The school plan has a list of who the crisis management team is within the school. It has specific classroom directions, what the classroom teacher would do. It has specific, the building plans in there, location of different things that staff would need to know within that building. It also includes where there may be any dangerous chemicals or what have you. For instance, if the fire department came in and wanted to know what location our chemicals are in the building, it would include that information within their plan. So it's very specific to that school in terms of what the procedures are for evacuation, for whichever kind of incident that can occur, and also a very detailed explanation of what's within that building in terms of equipment, chemicals, and all kinds of information within the building.
Thank you. Now, in addition to the plans that you just outlined, we've taken some additional measures to make sure that our schools are as safe as they can be. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the steps that we've taken?
Last year, the Board of Education hired a consultant team to come in and look at the security in our buildings. And the consultant gave a very specific outline to the board of what needed to be done in all the schools. Some of the things, obviously, are security measures, which I couldn't explain to you here. However, I think many parents have noticed that we have security aides in all our buildings. They were hired over the summer. They greet our parents. They ensure that no one who is not supposed to be in the school enters the school. We had training of staff in terms of the procedures that we've had, implemented. And we have also began to incorporate cameras in many of our schools. We started with the elementary. Some of our elementaries already have the buzz system. Doors don't open unless you're identified. And we're starting to implement that up to the the larger schools. Each school is presently manned with an emergency management kit that contains materials necessary in case of a crisis. For instance, large lanterns in case power goes down. There's megaphones for in case the PA goes down. There's cell phones. There's many things, lists of students, home addresses, all kinds of things that someone would need in time of emergency are already there and in the emergency management kit in each and every school, so that in a case of emergency, they're out. These are different things that were recommended by the consultant, and many of their applications and suggestions have already been implemented.
And in addition to that, all 1,200 of our school employees have photo ID tags to identify who should be in the building.
Yes.
And as you said, the aides provide visitor passes to people that have legitimate business within the schools.
You're absolutely.
Now, how are the other kinds of issues handled within the school, such as inappropriate behavior or threats from students? Can you explain to us how we handle that and what we mean by a zero tolerance or a modified zero tolerance policy?
Our district has a zero tolerance philosophy, and many of our board policies speak to that. For instance, we have policies on search and seizure. We have policies on many of the kinds of things. We have a very specific discipline policy within the district. All those policies to us focus on what we consider our zero tolerance philosophy. When a student makes a dangerous threat, those are addressed immediately. This past year, the FBI came out with a report that indicated data across the country of how many of these incidents had occurred, and gave suggestions on how school districts could better address the kinds of issues that we're facing. And we modified our procedures this year in terms of dealing with individual students and dealing with students on an individual basis in terms of the kinds of threats they're making and the kinds of responses that we take to them. This doesn't mean that we have stopped making a response to those threats. We absolutely do, and we take them very seriously. But we do take each threat made individually in terms of what the nature of that threat is.
How have we communicated these procedures and emergency plans to our parents?
We have made presentations at the PTAs. The principals have discussed the plans at back to school night, that these plans exist. They have been, many of our procedures are in the school calendar, which all our parents receive. The school, obviously students are made well aware of through the building administration in terms of what the expectations are in terms of behavior. So there are many, many ways, and I believe that in Spotlight there has also been some indication of what our procedures are. So there are many ways that parents are made aware of what the emergency management response is from our district.
In the past several years, across the country, we've seen some truly violent acts within schools. Schools have instituted something called a lockdown procedure or a lockdown drill. Can you explain to us what a lockdown drill is?
A lockdown drill, very similarly, and our district has, let me clarify, our district has 3 drills, 3 kinds of evacuation or drill responses. One is a fire drill in which doors are locked, windows are locked, and students evacuate. We have a bomb threat, which doors are unlocked, windows are unlocked, students evacuate. Lockdown is different in that there is not a specific evacuation, as with the other 2 drills. In a lockdown situation, students are placed in a safe area within their classroom, and they get down on the floor, away from the windows, away from the front door, and they wait for direction. Because in a lockdown procedure, if there's an intruder or someone around the perimeter of the school who may be of danger, you don't want to evacuate the school. So we wait to hear where's the safest way to evacuate. And in some cases, evacuation may not be the answer. So a lockdown drill is simply that. Students are locked down within the classroom until we can find a safe way to evacuate them.
This past fall, all of our schools participated in a lockdown drill. Sergeant Crothers, can you talk to us about the role that the police played or play in our lockdown drills?
Well, after presenting the plan to the Board of Education and gaining its approval, I attended a workshop by the Board of Education over the summer that was attended by principals and administrators throughout the district. It was that time where I explained to them the concept of the lockdown drill, why we thought it was the best method to go by, and I answered questions and concerns that they had, and explained to them why we were doing this drill and why it was the best method. At the actual drills themselves, I was there to observe the drills. So for myself and the members of the SWAT team and the members of the police department, I could relate how they looked, where the students would be in the event of a lockdown, and also to make suggestions and answer any questions that the principals would have after the lockdown.
Can you talk about the success of the drill and why you believe it's important that we hold them?
Well, the drills were very successful. And I think the main reasons were, one, they were taken very seriously by teachers, students, and the police, and also the preparation by the Board of Education to train their people on how the drills would be performed. So by the time that they were actually implemented and the drills went off, they went very smoothly.
And do you believe that it's important that we continue to hold these lockdown drills to prepare our staff and students?
Certainly. Just like any other drill, for a fire drill it's important, and the more practice makes perfect. By doing the drills, we also can see if there are some flaws, some things that we don't like, things that we can adjust to make them better and more efficient.
Mr. Kosik, we haven't forgotten about you.
That's okay.
In the event that we had to implement our plan and we had an emergency at one of our schools,
Right.
our parents would want to locate their children and find out information as soon as possible. And unfortunately, that can interfere with what's happening at the school. What steps could we recommend to parents that they should take in the case of an emergency at one of our schools?
Well, right now we're in the process of, through the crisis management plan for the Board of Ed, which is a continuous work in progress. The plan is not going to be completed and then pushed aside and it's over. We'll be looking at it and taking care of different types of exercises along with it, a tabletop exercise where everybody will go through on paper what to do, and a functional exercise. The one thing that's going to be very specific in the plan is that there'll be one meeting location, regardless of what campus is affected or what school is affected. There'll be one meeting locations for the parents and guardians and the people that are concerned of the children to go to. At that location, once it is announced, there will be people there from the Board of Education, from the township, and any support services that may be necessary through the Red Cross or clergy or anything. And at that point, the information will be given back to the parents. It's important that when an incident occurs, that just the emergency responders are able to get to the incident, their staging activity that takes place, actual response activities, and having parents there or just general people getting involved can cause a chaotic scene. And there will be an open conduit of communication between the incident and the reception area where the parents will be asked to report to. That will come out into the plan, and the parents will know that up front. So in the event they hear of an incident, they can go right to that location. And we work within the township under what we call an incident command system. And it's addressed in that command system, which is actually a management tool for emergency incidences, to have that line of communication open back and forth. And it would certainly come to a successful incident, to a closure much quicker than having the parents and people going to the scene themselves. All of that will be addressed, and it will be made public to the students and the parents.
I mean, recognizing that as a parent, certainly there would be a great deal of anxiety and wanting to know how their child was, but isn't it true that by coming to the site and having general public and parents in the site, we could actually make things more difficult for the police and for the emergency teams?
Absolutely. The first reaction will naturally be to go to the scene, to find out how their child is, or even if an adult is working there with teachers and whatnot. However, based on what the incident could be, the scene is going to be secured. The access to the scene is not going to be able to be gained by anyone except the emergency responders and people that are responsible to go there. So actually going there is not going to help out anybody because they're not going to get any information. The information will be sent back to the reception area. And it's very important, and natural reaction will be to go to the school. But we ask, and in the event there is an incident, people will be told to report to one central location, and all the information will be made available there. Our plan addresses that on a township level. It's addressed into the crisis management plan, and we will actually have teams initially dispatched right to reception area and right to the incident itself. And information will be, updates will be given, press releases, everything of that nature.
Okay.
So the plan is definitely a work in progress, and we'll be massaging it and updating it on a constant basis.
Dr. Magistro, that leads us to the next question. Like any plan, we will take a look at how it's working and review it annually. Do you anticipate any changes or modification to the plan during the year?
There's a few things that we plan to do. Obviously, things will be coming up as we have our various drills, because within the drills, the principals actually develop a scenario with their management team for any crisis situation that they are planning in their mind for their lockdown drill. So as you go through that process and as we find things that we need to modify and work on the plan, we constantly go back and massage that plan. But for the larger picture, we're looking at evacuation sites. As you know, Some of our buildings are very large. We need to know where we could put the students if we have to move them. We're looking at warehouses in the town. If there's anybody out there listening today and has a site that they would like to discuss with us, we're welcome to have their call. The Hilton has offered on dates that they're not committed to use their facility. So we're looking out and reaching out to our community to find a site, some evacuation sites for students and parents to hold the kinds of meetings that Mr. Kosik was talking about. We also have met with the Clergy Council because we feel that whenever a crisis occurs and we have parents that need additional support, we want to be able to reach out to them to come to our site and work with our parents and staff and so forth. So we're looking at outside communities, we're looking at evacuation sites, we're looking at extended support. Those are the things that we still have to work on and to really bring the plan to the level that we would like to see it.
What kind of feedback did we get from parents after we did our lockdown drills? Or I know you've presented the plan to PTA meetings and community groups. What kind of feedback have you gotten?
I've received very good feedback, exceptionally. I've been very pleased. Parents feel that the school is taking the steps to see if their children are safe. But I'd like to share with you some of the things the students are saying because it's really, really important. This is not easy for them to say to them, you know, these things may or may not happen. We always go out and say we've had fire drills 2 a month for as long as they've been in schools, and we haven't had a fire, knock on wood. So these are things that we do to prepare ourselves should something occur. And students have shared with me, and students that served on a committee, that not only do they feel more safe knowing what to do, that they feel they should be practiced more often, that they feel we should practice them on unscheduled time like cafeteria time and lunchtime where things are unstructured. But I'm not getting a sense for the students that they're saying this is terrible, let's not go there. I'm really getting a sense for students that they feel much more confident because they know what it is that's expected of them and they know that we're planning, and that's important to them.
That's excellent. Mr. Kosik, I see that you have actually a document that we use in the schools, and that is actually one of the crisis management plans for the schools, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. This is a draft plan for Churchill Junior High School. If you can just look, it's probably somewhere in an area of 60 pages, and it addresses, the nice thing about the plan is it's picked up by anyone to look at it and can basically go through it. It's sort of like a cookbook. If an incident occurs, you can flip through the pages and at least get the ball rolling until we can kick in our emergency management operations. The plan has been looked at, and I believe almost a year now. We've been working on it, and it's really very simple for somebody to look at and put it into motion. It's something that all the administrators and principals, the input has been, the cooperation has been unbelievably accepted and well. And on an emergency management standpoint, it's good to see that. As we meet in a county environment with all of the coordinators in the municipality, and we had talked about this, a lot of the ideas that we put together has been taken to other communities.
My understanding is that this is a model really not only for the county but for the state, that the cooperation between the township officials and the school district to put this kind of plan together is going to serve as a model.
That is correct. I have received many phone calls. Word got on the street that East Brunswick Board of Ed had begun a school crisis plan, and the township had included their involvement into it in an emergency management standpoint. And there's a lot of copies floating around that I'm sure people are going to take a look at and address it to their concerns.
Thank you. The Crisis Management Plan and School Safety Initiatives provide a safe learning environment for the children and staff of the East Brunswick Public Schools. I would like to thank each of you for the time and the hard work and the dedication that you put in to develop this plan. And I'd also like to thank all the community members, parents, and students who worked on the plan. In addition, I'd like to extend a special thank you to Department Chief Finn, Director of Public Safety, and his team for their work on this project. The insight and feedback of all who participated made this a strong, effective plan for responding to emergency situations. For the benefit of our children, it's important that we remain committed to working together. And as we've said during this program, East Brunswick is clearly ahead of many other communities and school districts in looking toward the safety and providing a plan should we have an emergency. Thank you, Mr. Kosik. Thank you, Sergeant Crothers. And thank you, Dr. Magistro, for joining me today.